How to double your salary, part 26. This is chapter 7 on the dilemmas. In the last part, we were talking about the chances and choices, or some unusual things like which I call the miracles. Now, today in the dilemmas, we'll talk about the influence of our family members. And as you know, for our success, we always would like to thank our parents. We also have to remember that the family members will have sometimes a lasting impact. Continuing my saga, I'll share with you how family influences and controls our career. Of course, given constraints, still we can reach our goal. Between location and company, between industries, we can still select a better one which suits our goal. Though parents, wife and children play a major role in the career, I chose or highlighted my mother's role in this career. Of course, one time my brother advised me not to go to Nigeria, and also I resigned my job in Saudi Arabia, when my daughter started, asking when can she start wearing the abaya, that the black dress which normally was worn by the local people. I also remember one day I met my daughter in the Sharjah airport, and she was all in tears. She asked me, "Daddy, do you know that we are meeting after 2 days? We just went to see off one of our friends." And that's how I used to work in Sharjah refinery. I used to leave early in the morning and then used to come very late in the night. And coming to my mother's role, after my postgraduation, I got a seat in US University. I think it is Texas University for PhD, and it was with the aid. Aid means those days, if you get the seat and the loans were not available freely, we had to go to Tata endowments for the loan. And here is a case where I got a aid from the university itself, and my mother asking me not to go. So I asked her, what is the reason? She simply said, those who go to America would never come back. And my father wanted me to complete my research or PhD in IIT and settle down as a professor and live a peaceful life. But I thought I am not a good teacher, because the teachers require a lot of patience, which I didn't have. And I also did not see big future in the career in the renewable energy field, where I registered for PhD. And as soon as my professor retired, so I was looking for a change in the job. And as you know, the title of the book, How to Double Your Salary, the first dream of mine was to get a 4-figure salary. So I mentioned elsewhere in this book how I got my 4-figure salary, where the best companies in India were not even willing to pay that much amount. And I got, I recall once I got an offer from Kuwait oil company, and my mother was not keen I should join that. She wrote a letter. Those days, letters used to take about 2-3 days when you post from Andhra to reach Bombay. And one day, myself and my brother was sitting in the car. That car was parked in BPCL near the gate, which is about just a walkable distance to post office. So I asked my brother to sit in the car, and I went to the post office and gave a telegram to my mother saying that I'm not going to Kuwait, and don't worry, I'll come to our native place at the earliest opportunity. When I came back and sat in the car, my brother asked me, where did you go? I told him that I went to the post office and gave a telegram to my mother. And then after knowing the contents of the telegram, he said, I was just sitting next to you. You couldn't have informed me about that. Then I said, I thought mom, when she said, I shouldn't go to America, she means the same thing for Kuwait. Then my brother continued and he asked, okay, fine, but then why telegram? I said, telegram reaches today itself, so that mom will stop crying till if I write a letter and then it reaches up for 3 days. That's how I was. And several offers I got it, one from Singapore, Tata Projects, one of our friends, Raju, he's also one in the group members, he is gone there. Tata Projects, one Murthy, who is also our colleague in HPCL, we all got an offer from a person called Alfonso, and he was looking for, scouting for ex-HPCL people, because he was from ex-HPCL. And one of our ex-boss, one Srinivasan, was the first to resign and go to Singapore. So that's how we got Singapore job. And in fact, the day I got the job, I was just in top of the world, and I was thinking that I would go. But then, like Kuwait, Singapore, I couldn't go. Then meanwhile, after about a couple of years, I got an offer from Bapco refinery. And as I said, Don, who was my interview and also, whom I would be reporting if I joined there, was impressed with my article on International Journal on this desulfurizer. And even when before the interview is complete, he started discussing with me how we would both can play tennis when in the Bapco club once I joined. And needless to say that I didn't join all of these things. And finally, one of our well-wishers, one Mr. Ravichandran, who was a director in safety directorate, invited me to go to Delhi so that I can have a fresh career, because my career progress was not up to the mark in HPCL. I went there to Delhi and then called up my mother and then told her, if I go from Delhi to Andhra by train, it will take more than a day, and if I go to Middle East, and I can come in 3 hours by flight. If not in America, why not Middle East? That's what my arguing point with my mother. My mother reluctantly said, okay, if you get an offer, you may accept it. But as destiny would have it, that evening, remember the last time I was talking about miracle, so that job offer came, and my brother, without my consent, he sent that acceptance letter by fax. Later when I asked him, why did he send the acceptance letter without my concurrence, he said, I've seen you that day sending the telegram to the Kuwait, so I thought you would not accept this also. But then I told him that morning itself, I got an okay from my mother, and he agreed that I can go abroad. And the evening, my brother sent the fax, and the next day morning when I was talking to my mother, she was a little bit skeptical, and she said, hey, you must have got this job offer earlier itself, but then you duped me into agreeing to that by yesterday. So I told her it is not the true, it's just the twist of the destiny. Morning she agreed, and evening my brother sent the fax without my concurrence, and then next day morning I knew that I got a best offer in my lap. So that's how family role I would explain. Then the next comes, which is also a little bit controversial for this book title. Uh, the thing is salary or slavery. But for all the employees, you always wonder when you're not meeting your what you call as target of doubling salary, then you'll wonder what happened. Why should you be working here? Why not you start something? And being a process engineer and then also being a process manager for big companies, I could see that the design where we are working for a project and the concepts, we are literally making a project from scratch, right from the drawing board, the say concept to the commissioning. And here I have to share with you, almost in few years after started my career, I made a feasibility report for the first private refinery, the Mangalore refinery. At that time, I'm talking about 85. I made a report. This I worked for another company, which at that time one of my friends, I would say he's elder to me. He's Mr. Vishwanathan, Vishwanath, R. Vishwanath, and he used to be general manager for L&T, and later on he resigned and started a consultancy, and then he asked me to give a feasibility report. Without going into details, I gave him about 10 pages of feasibility report and some drawings, and one Mr. Agarwal, who wanted to set up the first refinery, a private refinery in India, though he promised to give about 1 lakh for the feasibility report, he ended up paying only 10,000. And on the face of it, I knew that he would not get the government's license to make the make the refinery, nor I would didn't want to lose the opportunity to make the first feasibility report. If anybody remembers the first feasibility report making at the age of 30 or maybe less than that, I'll be happy. So that's why I made the feasibility report. Then I knew that if I go for a consultancy or if I go for my own, probably will make money. And even recently also I met so many people who with the qualification of BA have built in big refineries, and probably they taken loans from the government or the banks, and then they become what do you call as tycoons. I knew even the Reliance refinery, the first private refinery, successful one, they didn't have refinery experience. SR, where I worked, they also didn't have the refinery experience, but they all started. So, and being head of the process and head of the design, I always felt that I played a key role, not only here, even the Sharjah refinery project. I'm still in touch with the Sharjah refinery owner, Mr. Abdullah, who is the second richest man in UAE. He told me that failure is not a problem, and I was responsible for his project. It's not taken off, and then we spent about $150 million. So I had this guilt feeling for a long time. Then Abdullah told me, "No, Raj, this is not your problem or process problem. It is a economic feasibility problem." So what I was telling is that just because you want to become an entrepreneur or a consultant doesn't mean that you will be successful, and we should be able to take the risk. So I didn't have the guts to take the risk at the time, so I continued to be an employee. So the subject which we are talking today is about salary and slavery. Out of many dilemmas I had, one dilemma, if I have to work and be an employee or entrepreneur. As I mentioned now, I did try a couple of times to be an entrepreneur, And again, I was for a brief period I was a consultant in Dubai. I was a consultant to Emirates Oil Company, which is a big company in a government-owned company, and also I was advisor for the power industry and energy for in Bahrain. So what I feel is that the consultants are well respected, but when it comes to the money, and I don't think they amass the millions. The same thing like my father used to say, teachers train a lot of people and most of their students, they do very well in society, but the teachers still stay where they are and they don't make money. So probably consultants are little better than teachers, but then still I won't say they are entrepreneurs. Okay. So one of my friends beautifully explained, a mouse eating his way to end of the jar gets trapped in it. This is how mousetraps are made. A mousetrap is interesting. Then there was a monkey who wanted to pick up peanuts. When he pushed his fist inside the bottle, he realized unless he leaves the peanuts and opens the fist, the hand is stuck in the jar. And monkey preferred to die, with the hand in the jar than leaving the peanuts. That's how I think all employees are. I would compare them. So we all join as employees and end up as employees. And at the end of the career, if one wants to join or start an entrepreneurship, he can do it. Otherwise, many of the people, unless in their blood or in their family there are entrepreneurs, it's very difficult or at least rare to see that people start their own business. What is an alternative to job? Every employee should keep the alternative to be an employer. That's the reason why I have written that volume 2 about the employer. And today one of our friends, Ramesh, was asking me, in the COVID times, jobs are very critical or difficult to get. Then what is solution? I said the solution is self-employed. Okay. In ancient India, there were no jobs except army and court jester. Salary is, selling our time. It is 8 hours. It takes 24 hours of our mind. Always bear in mind, if we make double the contribution, we retain our job. Sometimes we have to contribute, 10 times. I would say that a process engineer, or a process design guys, we made, a concept or a feasibility report, which I think one of my last jobs was that I made a feasibility report for $500 million, which you would get it in less than 6 months. They call it rate of return or the return on investment, ROI. So if it is anything less than 1 year, that means the feasibility report is accepted by the banks. And big projects normally they'll have about 5 to 10 years, and for refinery projects there can be 10 to 20 years also. So what I am telling is, if rate of return will tell you how quickly you will get the investment back, and if the investment situation in India improves like in America, and I am sure one day all Indians will be entrepreneurs. In fact, that is what my dream is, and that is what the aim of this book. It's not just double your salaries, but then sky is the limit. Okay. Now this is one dilemma everybody will have, whether you want to join the job or start your own industry. So that brings us to the end of the chapter 7, that is dilemma. And in the next part, that is part 27, we will go into the chapter 8, which talks about goals, plans and decisions. So here, signing off, the author Rajsekhar Polapagada, the part 26. This is the family versus career and the salary versus entrepreneur or employee versus employer. These two dilemmas come to an end. Thank you. Bye-bye.